entertaining and informative.
This is Sid and Friends in the Morning.
77 WABC.
You can go. You can start all over again. You could try to find a way to make another day go by. You can hide on all your feelings inside. You could try to carry on when all you want to do is cry. And maybe someday we'll figure all this out. Try to put an end to all our doubt. Try to find a way to make things better now. And maybe someday we'll live our lives out loud. We'll be better off somehow.
Rob Thomas, lead singer of Matchbox 20 with Someday. Lee Zeldin, 9 o'clock hour. Elise Stefanik and President Trump. Next hour, here he is, my dear friend of 47 years, and the best defense attorney anywhere in the world, not just the country. You can go to Italy, you can go to Israel. Nobody better than Joseph Tacopina. Tac, good morning, buddy. How are you?
Good morning, brother. Wow, this is some lineup you have coming today. I can't even believe I'm part of this thing. Like, one of those things don't belong. Like, I guess I fit that category.
No. You belong. And I'll tell you why quickly. I have about 10 minutes here, but because, Trump was on with me and Bernard many years ago, and he loved the fact that I admitted on the air that I didn't vote for him in 2016, but I came around, right? So he loved that. But truth be told, there was no relationship. There was none. And all of a sudden, you call me one morning. You're on the way to the airport, and you go, I got to ask you a question. I go, you call me at 5 o'clock in the morning. What's up? And you go, I'm on the way to go see President Trump. Should I go? I go, wait a second. You're on the way. Obviously, you're going. You go, I know, but am I doing the right thing? I go, yeah, of course. Of course you're doing the. So long story short, you meet the president in Mar-a-Lago that night for dinner. He hires you, and you represented him on 2 cases, and you're having dinner with him and his son, Eric, and you say to the president, my guy Sid in New York, he loves you. And the president says, I love Sid too. You sent me the whole exchange. Since that day, almost 2 years ago, me and Trump have become, in all seriousness, really good friends.
I know, and I'm so happy I made that connection for you, Sid. Because, one, you deserve it. 2, he has as strong as a sort of advocate in you as he does in anywhere in the media. And believe me, when I did that, I got such evil eyes from Boris, from Steve Chung. I went through, because I didn't go through protocol. You got to go. You can't go.
And they get mad. They get mad, the comm staff.
I was like, no, like, I'm supposed to. I got a call for the 2 of them. Like, listen, I know you're sort of new to this world, but we don't do it that way. You got to go through, me, then Steve.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, but that's my boy Sid. It's my brother.
And it worked, man. And it worked. I know Chung and Boris and Margot, they don't like that stuff, but it did work. So you're leading off today, and you deserve it because you're a huge part of this. And again, you represented Trump in 2 major cases. You did a great job. I don't care what anybody says, including him. You did a great job with the E. Jean Carroll case. Great job.
Well, I mean, listen to that.
Yes.
It's the only verdict in New York with a jury that he actually won the most important part of that case, which was the rape allegation. It's out of all the jury trials in New York, which obviously is not a favorable venue to him. It's the only time he actually won. And and believe me, we knew we were facing an uphill battle there with the judge who just loved him, Judge Kaplan, and with the jury in New York who's prone to just overlook evidence and just really doesn't really like him, and so we were happy with that result, obviously, and then even the petty fine he received, the $5 million, compared to the 83 he received later for just defamation. I mean, so look, I like a clean sweep, Sid, but at the end of the day, when you compare it to what's gone on since then with New York juries, that was a pretty successful journey.
You did a tremendous job. Now, I'm going to talk to Trump coming up at 8:40. I am going to bring up the Supreme Court. They ruled a couple of weeks ago that the president deserves a pretty decent amount, more than I thought, decent amount of immunity. And what's funny is Biden should love this because God knows he could be in prison. And now Biden is out there trying to reform the Supreme Court. Harris wants to add bodies to the Supreme Court. What's your thought on the Democrats trying to load the court and reform the court?
Well, look, I mean, these reforms are nothing more than what they are. You know, as a matter of basic legitimacy, foundational rules of government should be fashioned without knowing which party or faction will benefit from them, right? And will be harmed by them. Here, clearly, this term limits idea, in contrast, is obviously crafted to undo the effect of the Democrats losing in 2016. And handling Donald Trump through Supreme Court appointees. You know, all of a sudden term limits are important. When Ruth Bader Ginsburg, who I, by the way, love, but you know, the left wasn't sort of agitated and calling and baying for term limits. When Ruth Bader Ginsburg, who joined the court in 1993, she served more than 20 years. She could barely stand up. They weren't talking about term limits then. No. They were cheering her on.
Well, by the way, I love Ruth Bader Ginsburg. Now they brought her up because when Trump yells and screams about abortion, when he actually has a very moderate stance, he's better than the Dems. When he yells and screams about all the geniuses, the court geniuses that wanted to leave it up to the states, and they called Roe versus Wade bad law, guess who said that? Ruth Bader Ginsburg.
Well, she comes from our neighborhood, Sid, in Brooklyn, right? She was a Jewish woman who became a star lawyer in a time where there were not many women lawyers. She is an quasi-idol to me. I mean, You may not like all her political leanings and whatnot, but I don't. Agreed. I'm looking at it as an academic and as a lawyer. She's like on a pedestal for me. So anyway, but look. This whole thing about the reform, no one is going to have more. They're blanking it with, it'll give more trust in the public and the Supreme Court. No one's going to have more trust in the court after it's been kneecapped by partisan purposes. It's just so obvious that that's what's happening right now, and it has to stop. That
I know. Stop. I mean, look, let me go back to a couple of weeks ago when they ruled in Trump's favor, not really in Trump's favor, in the president's favor for immunity. Sotomayor, I mean, that was one of the most embarrassing couple of days for a Supreme Court judge ever. She started coming up with these hypotheticals, Joseph, that were ridiculous. Like a president go on the street and kill somebody? Calm down, please.
I know. I get, look, in oral argument before appellate courts, you often have these extreme hypotheticals. But this was an important case, and this is an important oral argument. You don't need to have, especially in the day we live in today, you don't need those sort of ridiculous hypotheticals that are not what anyone's suggesting. I don't think Donald Trump is suggesting that he should have immunity to go out there, pull a gun on anyone and shoot them, right? I don't think he's suggesting that, and no one is suggesting that. So It's a stupid thing. But, just the whole thing is so partisan, and that's why I can't stand. I like the law to be as pure as possible, and I know it's not. Right. But, and now they're focusing on part of this, and now that, of course, the ethics violations, they want that to be sort of governing thing, and that's fine. But they're focusing on, blasting Clarence Thomas, who's been on the bench for 33 years, who's married to a conservative activist, right? And because Thomas accepted some free undisclosed vacations from a billionaire named Harlan Crow. But Harlan Crow had no business before the Supreme Court, right? It's just that he accepts some vacations. So that has been the Democrats have been destroying and calling for his head. And that's fine. But, then don't be hypocritical, because Joe Biden failed to disclose his free vacations on his annual ethics forms.
That's right.
So if what's good for the goose is good for the gander, you can't have it both ways. And that's why this politics stuff is, people just leave the justice system alone, honest to God.
Now, you would hope they would, but they haven't. Final 2 minutes, Joseph, even though you were bar mitzvahed.
I was, and went to yeshiva.
No, when you went to yeshiva, I've got a picture of Joseph Tacopina blowing out the Shabbos candles. I don't blow those out. But on a serious note, you grew up with some Judaism on Avenue X and Bedford Avenue, but you are a very proud Italian Christian man. And you heard the cut I played with Donald Trump with Laura Ingraham last night. I blasted the Olympics on Monday. Mind you, I have not watched one event, not basketball, none of it, not one. And now I especially won't after what they did with that Last Supper. How grotesque was that?
It was so disgusting. And I just want to understand which moron who's in charge of the Olympic Committee said, ooh, this is a good idea. I mean, opening your event by replacing Jesus and the disciples at the Last Supper with men in drag. You know, there are 2.4 billion Christians in this world, and apparently the Olympics want to just let them know right off the bat of the Olympic Games, we don't care. Get the hell out of here. You're not welcome. It's disgusting. And, you know, here's the funny part. And Chris, my son, he listens to your show every day, and he's unbelievable. It really is. Of course, you know, he gets into an issue, he dives into an issue. Yeah. He found the Olympic Charter. I didn't even know the Olympics had a charter, but Rule 50 of the Olympic Charter says no kind of demonstration or political, religious, or racial propaganda is permitted in any Olympic sites, venues, or other arenas. I guess that's accepted if you do something against the Christians. In that case, you can do it.
Unbelievable!
It's outrageous. It really is outrageous.
I mean, look, you know, right now, Tack, the Christians and the Jews are really both under assault in this country and around the world. Both.
How about yesterday at the Olympics, the protesters during the Israeli soccer game? How
yes.
Hitler. I mean, and it's just like people should be arrested right there.
I know.
But yet this poor guy, this poor journalist, Bob Ballard, who's this legendary broadcaster from Eurosport, right? Who did the Olympics, who was covering, I guess, the women's swimming, the Australian women's swimming meet, and made a lame sort of joke about, women are like, hanging around doing their makeup because they were still finishing up their meet. They were a little behind. And it was a joke, but it was it wasn't an offensive joke.
No, nothing malicious.
Right. But this guy, gone. 30 years as one of the top broadcasters in Eurosport Olympic coverage, like a legend, gone that same day. But put Jesus Christ in drag with some fat drag queen, no problem. We love you. And they didn't even apologize. But this poor guy makes a joke about women taking the time because they're putting on makeup. Oh, my God. Wow. This world is so screwed up.
It is. It's nuts. But thank God there are people like you. That was a great appearance, a tremendous job. Like you said, Charlie Hustle, Pete Rose as the leadoff hitter for the Big Red Machine. Here comes Joe Morgan and Johnny Bench and the rest of the crew.
And we got Foster coming up on fourth, right?
George Foster, the former Met. That was a heck of an appearance. Joseph Tacopina, I love you. Thank you for stopping by today. We'll do it again very soon.
Okay, say hello to the president.
I love you, too. That's the best defense attorney in the world with some very good points about the Olympics and the Supreme Court, my dear friend Joseph Tacopina.